Junior, just wanted to come on here at the beginning of the podcast, and I just wanted to say to you, sorry, let me try that again. Hey, Junior, just wanted to come on here at the beginning of the podcast and tell you, Kevin, you can, sorry, let me try that again. Hey, Junior, just wanted to come on the podcast and wish you,
You've got mail.
Son of a gun. I'm so sorry about that. Junior, just wanted to come on the podcast and wish you, son of a guy. Junior, just wanted to come on here before we got to the podcast. You know what? Never mind. Let's get to the podcast. Dave, welcome to the playoffs.
Playoffs? Are you kidding me?
Wait, can you believe that we're in the middle of December? We've made it through 14 weeks of fantasy. It feels like just the other day we were all at the tavern.
I know. Just having a good old time, drafting our teams, wishing for the best.
Yeah.
Ed presented me with that awesome Bengals football,
Yeah.
Good times.
It's crazy. It's
now
crazy to think that
it's like months ago.
Yeah.
A lot's happened since then.
And every season, like I remember when I pitched this idea to the podcast to you, and we were like, oh, we'll see how often have it. Like 2 seasons in a row, we've done one every week during the regular season. Like that's a lot of you and me talking.
Yeah. I mean, for all that, for 3 people to watch.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, this show would have been canceled on any other network a long time ago.
Yeah, Netflix would not have approved it for a second season.
For a second season, yeah. I mean, YouTube has called me and they were like, hey, this is precious bandwidth you're taking up. Like, have you thought about, yeah. So, all right, Dave, we'll take care. We got a bunch to talk about.
Yeah.
Only 8 teams matter. But we finished off the regular season. Who's your final regular season Miller Time team of the week?
What? I mean, we've had some weeks like with dud Monday nights where not a lot was going on. But man, it was looking like nothing was going to change. At least even partway through the game. And then it was looking like absolutely nothing would change as soon as Murray went down. And then things started happening. And things started moving and shaking. It's like, hey, wait a minute. That guy could, if he does this. So, I'm not doing the obvious. Rainey got high points. Rainey keeps winning. He talked a big game and really wanted to take over first place and all that. But, he ends his season and regular season with 137. But, man, with the drama of what happened and with what I think is the longest winning streak, or at least one of them, going right now, I got to give it to Travis.
Yeah.
He pulls that defensive TD and then a bunch of sacks, gets the win over Josh, and catapults himself from, 8th place all the way to 6th place, which who knows if that's going to matter. But when you're sitting there at 8th and you're like, going into it thinking, he didn't look like he was going to win. And if he didn't, and it kind of looked like Rennie was going to win, and so he would have had to, nobody, playing Rennie wasn't looking real good.
Yeah.
Week 1, and then he catapults himself, and now he's got a cake week 1, like just easy, like because of what he did. So I'm giving it to, he played some schlub, I think, some idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll give it to Travis. He's won several games now in a row. Remember when we kept talking about how Travis can't score points?
Yeah.
He can't score
over
points.
100.
He can't score points. He's turning it on at the right time, and he's got a pretty solid team going into the playoffs. So good job, Travis. And you know what, Travis? If you're ever watching, which you're probably not, you didn't even need a flex spot.
No.
You played 2 running backs and 3 wide receivers, and you got it done. See?
Yeah.
Who needs a flex? You don't.
Yeah.
You obviously don't. You can't vote for it now.
No. So I'd love to give it to Brian because I feel like he let all of us collectively down. You know what I mean? With his And so like this is the team that all season long we've just been talking about, like Chubb and Barkley and all these guys, Waddle, and like Chubb got 5, Barkley got 4, Waddle got 3, like, and then Murray, and then he still has a chance to win it.
He's good. I mean, what Henry ended up with 7 or so. What Murray would have only needed in the teens.
Yeah, less than 15, I think.
You got to think he falls forward a few times and gets one touchdown.
But that's not Brian's fault, right?
No.
Like, Murray going down and that whole thing is not Brian's fault. Brian, he put a full lineup up, and so none of these games really mattered, right? We talked about that before. And they were all.
You play Murray over Cousins there. I mean, you just do, even though Cousins got a bunch, but
yeah. And so with 4 losses in a row and not plugging a defense in, I got to give it to my good buddy Lee. It didn't matter for anything.
No.
He's still in the playoffs. And
how do you lose 4 weeks in a row and still make the playoffs?
Yeah. But Josh wants to know because.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of, there was a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about this eye test thing, but what's not good on the eye test is losing.
Losing the final game.
Yeah.
I said, could you imagine the scenario if Josh was like, I beat Travis and I'm in, and like all Monday night he's just like, and then all of a sudden New England gets that defensive touchdown and you're like, what just happened? My whole season just got flushed down the toilet. Yeah. Like, that would have been heartbreaking.
And but he lost.
Yeah, he lost. So
I don't know.
We won't spend a whole lot of time. We all these matchups, like you barely won. Travis came back and won.
Yeah. But some of the close matches had consequences.
For seeding, they all matter for seeding.
Who knows whether that's a good thing or bad thing for any of us? I don't know. I don't know.
So so that'll go. Adam sent us a lot of stuff, and I just wanted to share it with you a little bit now that we're okay. So we can officially say, like, we'll kind of hey, if you didn't make it, if you're not in the 8. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? I hope you keep watching the podcast, but the truth is you probably weren't watching it to begin with, so it doesn't matter. We've got our number 1 seed, right? Off all weekend versus 4-game losing streak, Lee. So that's a matchup. We got our number 2 seed, Discount Double Check, versus Heimtime Industries, a team that a month ago we would have said nobody wants to play.
Yeah.
Now, flip a coin, Murray and Cousins, but his team just hasn't performed the way that it was before. Waddle's definitely fallen off, and his running backs have struggled the last couple weeks. You got the 3 seed, the Smithereens, that's me, versus Travis and Vote Flex Now, a team that a month ago I would have said, give me Travis.
Yeah.
And now,
no.
maybe, nobody wants that. And then we've got the 4 versus 5 with it, which is Welcome to the Red Kingdom versus the Rat Trappers. So and we'll break those down in a second, but what Adam had done, we were talking about the seeding matter and like all that stuff. So I'll just give you a little seeding history. Okay. Seeding history. And I believe that he said he went back 12 years on this. Maybe some of them are like 7 years. I can't remember what all it is, but he sent me, I was trying to see if there was a subject on here because he just kind of dumped a bunch of stuff. But the number 1 seed is 19-9 in the playoffs over the whatever span over the past 12 years. I think is what he's got. 12 years, 19-9, 3 titles, 4 runner-ups. So that's pretty good.
Decent place to be.
Yeah, decent place to be. Over the last, so that means over the last 12 years that over 50% of the time the number 1 seed has made it to the championship game. Right? Wow. 7, 4 plus 3, 7. I think I got that right. Okay, so 2 seed, 14-10 in the playoffs, 2 titles, 2 runner ups. So not as good as the 1 seed, but still has a winning record in the playoffs. And 3 seed, 13-10, 2 titles, 2 runners up. So just as good. So like there's really no difference between over the last 12 years, 2 and 3 seed, right? Those have been both been, decent places to be. The 4 seed, which is where Adam is now, and this is why he was talking all that, you know what I mean? I hate being in the 4 seed. He wanted to give you the 4 seed. He's the 4 seed. 4 seeds are 3-12 in the playoffs, 0 titles, 0 runner-ups.
I mean, if that ends up, I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously stats are stats, but I was 1 more field goal and I would have moved to 4th.
yeah, because you would have had him by points, right? You
almost caught him. I was like, I mean, I think I ended up 1 or 2 points, less than a field goal.
Yeah, can you imagine that over the course of 14 weeks collecting points, and you guys come down to being that close?
Yeah, a lot.
Between the 4
and 5
more
field goal, 1 more trip down to the, and they kick it, and then he go, I would be in the 4th and have those stats against me.
yeah, 5 seed, 13-11, 1 title, 2 runners up. So just crazy. The 5 seed's got a winning record, has a title and 2 runners up. So they've made it to the championship game 3 times in the last 12 years. And the 4 seed is blanked.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, they're playing each other. It seems like it'd be even. Like those teams would normally be pretty even. And I feel like this year is another example of we have very similar situations. So lots of turmoil.
6 seed, 8-10, 2 titles, 0 runner-ups. 7 seed, 7-11, 1 title, 1 runner-up, and the 8 seed, 6-11, 1 title, 1 runner-up. He's got some other stats in here. The 1 seed, 3 times has somebody won the league and won the championship. So that's Adam, Rennie, and Adam. Adam did that in 2021, so that was last season. Rennie did it in 20.
I don't remember Rennie ever doing that.
Yeah, he says it happened in 2013.
Yeah, it doesn't stick out. Like it's not very memorable to me. I don't remember anything.
Yeah, maybe Rennie can remind us tomorrow in chat about it.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then Adam did it back in 2011. So 10 years apart. It did the double take with winning the league and winning the championship. So
which contributes a lot to those number 1 seed stats.
So over the last 7 years, Dave, the 1 seed has made the championship game 5 of the last 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 seed, the 2 seed has failed to make the championship game since 2015, Dave, when they won the title. So that's the last, in 2015 is the last time the 2 seed has made it to the championship game. So a lot of 2 seed action came early on. That's bad news for Rennie. So the number 3 seed has made it to the playoff championship game in 3 of the last 4 years, winning 2 of the last 4 playoff championships. Travis in 2020 and Josh in 2018, and finishing runner-up in 2021, which was Josh. So 3 seed has some recent success. That's good news.
So you realize, though, that our current teams and our current matchups, they don't know any of that information. Like it's all thrown out, right?
Ball don't lie.
Like it doesn't have any impact on what's going to happen, but I guess it forms a trend, which I don't know what that trend is.
The trend says that Adam's going to lose this week.
Okay.
And if he does win, that he'll lose the following week for sure.
I feel like he would have. I feel like Adam's going to have to lose more than I'm going to win.
Yeah. You want to run down of championships over the last 12 years? Rennie has 2. He won that as a 1 seed and a 6 seed. Adam has 2, both times 1 seeds. Adam's an all or nothing kind of guy.
Yeah. He dominates or.
Travis has 2, 3 seed and an 8 seed. Junior has 1 coming in at the 6 seed. Dave, you've got 1 over the last 12 years. What's happening?
No, I think I did my first 2 years. My first full 2 full years. I think I won 2 in a row, and then I had a long gap.
Yeah. So I've got one 5 seed. Danny's got one at the 7 seed. Josh has one at the 3 seed, and Mike Wheat has one in the last 12 years.
Man, that's taking us back.
Yeah, at the 2 seed. Adam has 4 runner-ups. Imagine that. That means he's made 6 championship games over the last 12 years.
Is there anybody currently in the league now that has not gotten in one in the last 12? I guess.
Yeah. There was no Brian in there. There was no Ed in there.
Both of them have only been in for.
Yeah, no Brennan.
For 4 or 5. So.
Yeah, so everybody else.
But everybody that's been 10 years. Right? Josh,
well,
me,
there's
Travis.
8 current people on there. So then that means that there's 4 that are not on there.
Okay. Unless I'm missing.
Rennie, Adam, Lee. Travis.
Has Lee? He's been in it a long time.
Yep, Lee is not on the list.
Okay, so Lee's like probably the longest tenured and with the longest losing, like the longest drought of winning a championship.
And Lee's not even on the runner-up. Adam, Keith, Rennie, Junior, Dave, Josh, Brennan, and your buddy Brian Clark. So that's just a little seeding information for you.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. You had asked me, one last farewell to our 4 teams that are not in the playoffs. So you had asked me to put together what I consider the loser squad.
Yeah, I got one and you got one.
Okay, so these are the best 9 players, and I threw it out there in the chat to see if anybody wanted to play along at home. Maybe you've got yours in your head or you wrote it down.
I wrote
it. So Dave, who you going with at quarterback? These players have to come from the 4 teams that are not in the playoffs.
So what got me thinking was like, man, you think about who you don't want to face in the playoffs, and I'm like, well, there's 4 full teams of people that you don't have to face, and the quarterback that stuck out for me is Jalen Hurts. So that's who I would go. That's who I'm picking.
So I went with Joe Burrow.
Okay.
I like
fine choice.
I like his matchups coming up, and obviously it's always fun to root for him. But Jalen's, a great choice as well. Both you can't go wrong with either one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and they're 2 people that none of the 8 of us are sorry are not in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that I can root for Joe Burrow to throw touchdowns and I don't have to worry, about facing him, that makes the fantasy playoffs more fun. So who you got at your RB1 spot?
I got Jonathan Taylor. I feel like he's coming on a little stronger, and he's got some decent matchups. So and he's tried and true. I'm going with him.
Yeah. Number 1 overall selection by Brennan, and not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I've got Austin Eckler. What do you think about that?
Fine choice.
Yeah. I mean, these squads, I'd feel pretty confident running this team up as my team.
Yeah, me too. I wish I could start this team.
Yeah. Okay. Who you got as your RB2?
I'm going Pollard.
Pollard.
Man, he's had some big games. Dallas has, been scoring and plenty of ball to go around. So I'm kind of riding the hot hand.
The dilemma with him, obviously, is that he is on a team that has a split backfield. But they've proven, both of them have proven all season long that there's plenty of touches for him. Yeah. So I went with Miles Sanders. I feel like that he's consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like he just seems like he's just getting the job done.
Yeah, that's a fine choice as well.
All right. Who you got as your wide receiver number 1?
I don't know that anybody could make a list without putting Devontae Adams on there.
All right. Well, we got the same guy. Okay. So first time we've matched up. It was fun that we have different guys and all of them fun choices. But yeah, I mean, when you look through that, would you say that wide receiver was the weakest for these 4 teams?
Yeah, it was the hardest for me to come up with.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not Devontae, but
yeah, the other 2.
You've got to get creative.
Well, really, it was just the 3rd one I struggled with.
Okay, so who'd you go with your second one?
Man, this guy's been a dynamo. He's a rookie. Plays for the Jets. Garrett Wilson. He's been just on fire. That's who I'm going with.
Okay. I went with Michael Pittman Jr. Just think that he's been serviceable. Again, I
Okay.
think that the wide receiver spot is a little weak on these 4 teams, but he kind of stuck out as somebody that you could plug and play. So, and
Okay.
then I also have a rookie on mine. I'll just go ahead and round them up. I've got Christian Watson. I don't know
Okay.
what Green Bay is going to do over the next 3 weeks, but he has been on fire of late. So
Yeah. Well, this one I can take a chance because it's not a real team that I have to use.
yep.
He's a little banged up, but there's a good chance he comes back this week. Another rookie, Trayvon Burks for Tennessee. Before he
Okay.
got hurt, he had some really good games, and they were going to him a lot. That's who I'm going with.
All right. Okay. Who you got in your tight end spot, Dave?
A guy I never like seeing on the other side of the matchup is Mark Andrews.
Okay, Mark Andrews, and
he's taking a little hit with a quarterback, with Lamar being hurt and stuff, but he's always dangerous.
Yeah. So I put David Njoku. Maybe we'll see what happens with Watson. He played a lot. Watson played a lot better this past week. I think his passing game's going to improve over the next 3 weeks. So
he's definitely getting a lot of looks.
Target.
Yeah.
So, all right. Defense.
Cowboys.
I went with the Bills. I think both of them are, defenses are defenses. But if you had to play one of these 2 teams, I think you'd be fine.
Yeah. I think when I was looking, if you're looking for 3 weeks, you got to get past week 1.
Yeah,
You're really looking at this as a playoff lineup, and the Cowboys, I can't remember who they play somebody at least less difficult than Miami, and that's who Buffalo plays.
Yeah. So who you got for a kicker? Are we on the same page?
No, I stayed with the Cowboys. I went with Mayer.
They
score a lot of points.
I say give me Money Mac, all right? Okay. Give me Evan McPherson.
Okay, well, you can't argue with that, but
yeah.
I just went, a team that scores a lot of points, gets a lot of chances to get points.
Yeah. So, this was a whole lot more fun than the exercise you had me do last week where I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, that's true. You didn't know the rules.
Yeah.
I think my team was better than yours. I still think it is.
All right. Well, that's probably because I wasn't paying attention.
So, all of you 4, you can still use these guys. Don't forget, we got 3 weeks left, and high points are still in play. We've been doing that for a few years just to keep it fun for the people that are, that are out. So make your best lineup and keep fighting and use these guys and try to get high points.
Yeah.
But don't get high points because we want to get more money. Yeah. And you guys not get it, but go for it. Try.
We already know who's not going to get high points, Dave.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
So this kind of hurts you because you being in the playoffs, because we used to not even do it. Like we used to end high points. After week 14.
So then I wouldn't even have a chance.
But say we only included playoff teams, like only 8 teams. Keep the rich. Then you'd have less teams to go against, and then I think you'd still not win.
All right. So Dave, let's jump in. We got some matchups here. Big playoff implications. First round. Off all weekend versus show me your TDs. I know that Lee's got some places. We're going to hope that he fills in some lineup stuff.
Yeah, he's got some injuries. He still needs a defense.
But if you just look at both of their lineups, Junior still has struggled scoring 3 of the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you've read any. I did a little post already. Okay.
No.
But I might have been a little hard on Junior's team for fun, but I just pointed out a few things of some matchup issues, some injury issues, some weather-related possible issues in Buffalo this weekend that could hurt his points. So, that's so. I mean, I don't. Junior has not proven of late that he can score a ton of points, but Lee hasn't proven of late that he can put a whole lineup together and keep people healthy.
Yeah. So we'll see. It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with Josh Allen. Trevor Lawrence has been on fire lately, and he plays Dallas, which could be a shootout. So that'll be.
You have to think that Junior's not only glad to be in first because he gets injury feedback no matter what. You get your $60, and you come out ahead with 10 for making the playoffs. But I would say it's probably not up for debate of the 8 teams right this second
that you would
these
want to
lost
play.
4 in a row.
Yeah, it's why you're the 1 seed. You get the opportunity to play.
But it's not always, it doesn't always work that way because,
like you could get a hot team that bumped up.
But this year we knew that wasn't going to happen 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So, all right. So then that takes us to our 2 seed. Rennie almost pulled off the impossible. He almost climbed back and beat Junior. And of every team that we talk about, he is definitely the hottest. ESPN thinks he's fire this week. What do you think about this matchup between Heim Time Industries? I do see that we've got Kirk Cousins plugged in now. So
is it? It wasn't earlier, but I assumed that was going to happen.
I don't know how that happened. I mean, it's not like I picked up the phone and text Brian and told him.
No, you wouldn't like. There's no collusion or anything like that. You would never do something like that.
I would never do something like that.
I mean, we knew it would happen, right? Like,
it was going to happen.
Brian wouldn't fall asleep in the playoffs. Surely not.
Playoffs? You said playoffs?
But I mean, for all his troubles and the injury, and then last week Chubb and Barkley laying eggs, they both can't do it 2 weeks in a row. I think the odds are better that they both bounce back and have good games. So I think Brian has the capacity. He's got good wide receivers.
You think this game is closer than what they have it on paper?
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't see what the projection of Cousins was. So is he currently
Rennie's getting 13.3 points.
Really?
Yeah. That's with Cousins in. Cousins is slated to get 20 versus Indianapolis. So it's 93.5 versus 106.8 that they have Rennie slated. Henry and Jacobs are both projected to get huge numbers. Kelsey's projected to get huge numbers. So, but I think this one's close. I'm saying I think this one's closer. I think Rennie definitely has the advantage, but it would not surprise me to see Brian come out and have a huge day.
Yeah. I mean, 7 of those points are at the tight end spot. That's a lot. That's a big gap. Kelsey's been good, but Kansas City passes, just moves around the ball so much, you never know. But yeah, I mean, I can't argue with the projection of most of Rennie's spots, but I feel like Brian definitely, I mean, those Chase can go crazy. Waddle, for whatever reason, has been a little silent, but lately, looks like he's going back with Hopkins, which is probably a decent move. Davis has been struggling, so there's no reason why this can't be a close match.
Yeah,
with high scores.
Dave, who's the 3 seed?
It's a team that has had a really good PR department. Like they have made it to. There's this thing, I don't know if you've heard of it. Like, it's big in the internet right now. It's called a matchup spotlight. It's been blowing up on social media.
Blowing up, yeah.
And the same team has been like featured in it every week. It's that team plus another, whoever that team happens to play. But the Smithereens team has been in it every week. The projections haven't really ever been accurate at all. Like, they've never been close whatsoever. But it's been entertaining to watch. And I have a feeling, if I had to put money on it, they might be in the matchup spotlight again this week.
You think so? So ESPN's got this 102 to 102.4.
Man, yeah.
I've scored 108 the last 2 weeks, which actually I'll tell you, you know that, like, that's not great for me because, like, my team has been ebbs and flows, right? It's like do well and then kind of fall off. And so, man, I haven't won more than 3 in a row anytime during the season. I'll take the 3 in a row now. Okay, like give me 3 in a row now, and we'll deal with we'll deal with the 4th one later. Get me past this first round. But Travis's team is as good as any team in the playoffs. I think
so too.
So when you just look across there and you're trying to fight for matchups, it's like, Herbert and Dak got a chance to probably maybe even each other out, but he's got a clear advantage at running back. And then wide
you've definitely
receivers
improved of late, but
Yeah,
his
and then
guys
wide
are a little more
receivers, you just
proven.
never know, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a coin flip.
And now with Arizona switching quarterbacks, maybe they don't move the ball as much. Connor looked pretty darn good,
Yeah.
once Murray went down, but they can probably stack the line, plan for it all week.
Well, and Denver, while their offense is terrible, their defense is not
Yeah.
terrible. So,
Yeah. And
but
then most people don't, go into week one of the playoffs getting stronger at a position out of nowhere. And that's, he just happens to get Goddard back right here for the week one of the playoffs. It's looking like, I mean, it's right now, he isn't, I don't know that he's got him plugged in, but it's looking like he's going to play. And that's like, he can be elite.
yeah. Hey, you were making fun of me before, man. I was watching a lot of fantasy stuff this past week, and people are going crazy about Bam Knight, and he's been on my bench for
I
like
know.
the last.
You
So
played
now,
him. You had to play him 1 week, and he did great. But
yeah,
you haven't been playing him because, I looked at. You have. I can't remember which. If it was Yahoo, might have been one of the organizations. They did the rankings for this week, just like
yep.
projections for best running backs this week, and you have 3 of the top 20. And
And
remember, weeks ago, you would have had not 3 out of the top 40.
and Connor's the only one I drafted,
Yeah.
right? And I think he was my RB2 at the time, maybe. But like I somehow have pieced together
Yeah.
some running backs because when early on in mid-season when I was really struggling, scoring about 70 points, it was because. Do you remember a game where I scored less than 2 points on my combined running backs?
Yeah, I do remember that. But I mean, I don't. Maybe you've already made up your mind and it's locked in. But there's a lot of pundits out there, if you will, that would say you should play Knight over Pachinko or whatever. But yeah, whatever his name is, Pacheco.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you'll end up doing, but it wouldn't be the dumbest thing in the world to do that. But either one.
So here's the hard, like Pacheco and Knight, like they're both trending up, like
Yeah.
And then you got Connor in there, which they've all three kind of like, man, if there was like one of those spots where I could just plug in 3 of those guys.
I mean, the hard thing about Connor is there's nobody else that he competes with really too much.
Yeah, he just gets the ball
with carries, and so it's really flipping a coin on the other two that you gotta, going into the playoffs. Getting touches is
well,
the most important
and
thing.
like that McKinnon gets a lot of looks too now. You know what I mean? Not only handoffs, but out of the backfield. So yeah, nothing's set until it's set. We're constantly looking at this.
Your wide receivers are generally like you probably most weeks you say I can match up and be advantage, and you probably still based on stats you have the advantage, but I mean you got to think any given week Brown, Metcalf, and Godwin can score a bunch, so he matches up pretty well with you on wide receiver.
Yeah, and then the last so I think that's why it's so even. I think it will be close.
Yeah.
Somebody could go off and that could be the difference, and so we'll just have to see how that ends up playing up. And then we got the final one. We've got you versus Adam. So all that stuff broke. All the things happened.
Yeah.
We had Rennie was asking, I was throwing out projections like, hey, here's what we think it's going to be if everything falls the way it is. And then we were like, the only thing that might switch is Dave and Brian might switch. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Travis throws a wrinkle in it and he wins, you win. Yeah. Like all that stuff fell. Obviously, Rennie ended up not being able to take the 1 seed. So the matchups that we have now are nothing like what we thought they were going to be going into Monday night.
Because I thought for sure Brian would win because he didn't really need that many more points, you know. And I
think we all kind of gave it was a given. We were just going to sit there and watch Monday night and watch it happen.
Yeah. So that was going to push him up, and I wasn't going to be able to pass him because he'd have more wins. And I wasn't going to pass. I wasn't going to knock Adam down.
Right. And really, I mean, up until that, I mean, like you said it, that 5-point field goal you got at halftime.
Yeah.
Swayed everything. I mean, you don't get that. He misses that. You don't win. You don't.
Yeah.
So all that to say, how do you feel about matching up with Adam week 1 of the playoffs? Because that wasn't what you were thinking.
matters. Who you play, you can only really control you. But I feel like Adam and I have had some of the same problems of we've had weeks where we pick the wrong guy, like somebody on our bench does way better. He's had more to pick from than me, and he's had way more bench points than me, but he's had some issues with injuries and stuff. I mean, I've had plenty of weeks. Last week was another one where I got, a guy that he plays one snap and doesn't get any points. My quarterback goes down, but yet I still end up with 90 some points. So
yeah,
I felt pretty good about that going into this week, but man, I feel like both our teams are pretty volatile. I mean,
you cannot like looking across and knowing that Patrick Mahomes is going against Houston.
No, I don't. The only thing I can hope for is that he gets benched in third quarter because they're up by so much.
The thing about some of these high potent offenses is that sometimes like things happen out of the blue where it's like Kansas City could get a defensive touchdown. Then all of a sudden they don't get the ball back, right? Because Houston's terrible. Mahomes could hand it off to somebody and he runs for 80 yards and all of a sudden then they get another, because that's what happened with Miami a couple weeks ago. They scored 40 points.
Yeah.
But
I still feel like even a good game script for me, Mahomes gets 20 to 25, no matter what.
Yeah. But you got to look. I mean, there is a potential that he throws 6 TDs.
There is, yeah. And so,
right.
I'm not in love with Justin Fields as a NFL quarterback in general, but he runs for his life, and I feel like they're going to have to try to score to keep up with Philadelphia. So if I can just keep within 10 points at quarterback of Mahomes, that'll give me a fighting chance.
I will say your saving grace is that I'll take McCaffrey over Kamara all day long because I just think that he has underproduced all season long. Now he may prove me wrong. Like Adam's stuck with him. I just feel like that McCaffrey's in a better situation and has gotten better point totals lately. But
and I don't know which running back I'm going to play. I have several to pick from, and so that's not a done deal. That spot, I don't know whether he'll stick
starting, right?
Yeah, second one, and he's got Swift, who has had great weeks, but going against the Jets, hopefully,
Did he say that's Taylor Swift or like her brother?
Apparently, I'm going to see this Swift in concert and not the other one, so I bought the wrong tickets.
You're going to see DeAndre Swift.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, wide receivers, I've been pretty, getting Williams back has been great. Lockett's been great, but I don't know what to do with Higgins.
Right.
I guess I'll wait and see for sure. And I don't have a whole lot of options. I got one other option, and there's not much on the waiver pool to pick from either. He's, McLaurin, I don't like seeing him there. Kirk with Jacksonville doing well. I don't really like seeing him there. I don't know whether he'll stick with Brown or pick somebody else, but, who knows? Tight end, he's got a traditional tight end that's going to get a lot of looks. I have a guy that could score 0.
Yeah. So I think most of our matchups are interesting. They're all pretty close. You know what I mean? Other than I think obviously Rennie's slated to get a lot more than Brian. We think that will be closer than. We say if Lee fills out a full lineup, that's going to make that one very close for Junior because Junior has been struggling of late. I think obviously all of us that are in the playoffs, we want to win. Yeah. But I think that like as a fan and like as somebody who just does a podcast and likes talking about fantasy football, like we all want interesting matchups, like matchups that are going to come down to Monday Night Football and we get to watch that and see what unfolds. So that's what I hope for. I hope for it's interesting. I hope it's fun. Obviously, I'd love to win, but just being here in the playoffs, removed from a 2-12 season a year ago, like that's winning for me. So.
Oh, wait a minute. It's coming up, isn't it?
What's that?
The 19th.
Oh yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, we get I forgot. I wanted to lead with that, and I forgot about it. It's buried here 45 minutes in the show. I'll send something out tomorrow, but. Monday night football, 8:00 at BW3's. We're inviting the entire league to come out and hang out with us and watch Monday Night Football. There's a good game that night. Remind me who it is, but I had it on the
It's
top of my.
Green Bay versus. I don't have anybody on Green Bay. You have somebody on Green Bay. So it's you have Dylan. Green Bay versus LA. Rams.
Green Bay versus the Rams. So not a huge implication for the playoffs thing, but
it is for Rennie.
For Rennie,
if he sticks with Rodgers, his quarterback's going.
So it'll be fun. I hope that everybody can join us. Now, I had this question for you, Dave, as we just kind of looked at the 8 playoff teams and their matchups. Do you think that the waiver wire will be heavy this week? Because you kind of write your matchup, and it's Wednesday night right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't know what people are putting in for kickers, defenses, tight ends, or like somebody maybe needs a third wide receiver or something like that. Do you think that there's going to be a lot of action on the waiver wire this week?
I guess there's a couple schools of thought that one is, you got your team, you want to stick with who got you here. But then the other thing is, if you have, kind of like you can't keep timeouts for the next game. So if you have a decent waiver spot, if you don't win this week, it doesn't matter if you keep it for next week, Right. So if you're going to use a waiver spot and try to get one of the top guys that you think is a good guy, then, use it or lose it. So I expect, some activity for sure.
How long have you been holding on to the number 1 waiver spot?
I thought I had. No,
you don't have it.
No,
I thought you said you had it.
I'm at 2, and that's only because I used it and went down to 12, and I just haven't had a need for anything since then. I've just been kind of moving up because other people have been doing stuff, and I didn't know who to get. I didn't have anybody in mind most of those weeks, and so I'd wait till Thursday and then decide things.
It won't surprise anyone. Heim Time Industries is the number 1 because I just feel like that he probably never puts in for one.
Yeah.
And if he does need one, it's past Thursday, so he just picks them up off of.
So he doesn't think about the Thursday thing, and he waits until Saturday.
So you're 2, which is intentional. You're waiting for the right player. You don't know, who to pick. And then Ed is 3rd because, again, no activity means that you move up.
Yeah.
All right. And then.
Well, so now's the time of the year too, where even if you don't want somebody, you might use it because you don't want. You think that person is a decent player and he might go to someplace else somebody you might have to play.
Yeah. And then Adam's at number 4, and he's being intentional, right? He's trying. I'm sure that he would use it if he needs it, but he's been. He usually wakes up and sees who else is available after the waivers have cleared, So I don't know. I can't remember, Dave. Was there any other segment that we talked about? And maybe it's in your write-up a little bit, but if you just looked at the 8 teams, do you feel like that you have a sense of who going into the playoffs just has the strongest lineup? Okay, we know.
Yeah.
Junior won. He gets the $60. He finished the season on top. He claims wire to wire, even though I'll go back and figure that out. Junior, well, let's move on. Is there a team that you think has the strongest lineup?
Wins sometimes don't lie. And so I narrowed it down to between Rennie and Travis because they both have the longest winning streaks. Not just because they've been doing it, getting 100 plus, and scoring a bunch. Plus, they got solid people at every position. But I think I'm leaning towards Travis just because he's got that wild card of getting Goddard back, and he got stronger. Rennie is what he is.
It's like picking up a free agent.
It kind of is, at the right time. And I don't know.
Is it that you trust the team he's playing the least too?
No, because and you might score a bunch too, but he might just score 5 more points than you, and you both score 150.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to score 150. That would be.
And I don't. I think both quarterbacks, neither one of them have been putting up, 40 spots like some of the other quarterbacks that have been occasionally doing that. But when the floor is 20 something, that helps. When you got good running backs and good wide receivers.
And we've said this before on the podcast. if Rennie had one of the top 5 quarterbacks, that team, I mean, his team's scary enough.
Well, and that's where I felt like Brian had potential for that, because Kyler was, I felt like any
Trending up.
minute he could figure it out. And for the play, like if he would have a really good game this last game and scored 30 something, he would have been ready to do that week 1. And that would have made Brian's team, if you're scoring in the 30s at quarterback plus, and you have a good team. Whereas, like, I feel like when I got 40 from Lamar and Fields a couple times, it was to make up for some other positions that didn't do so good. And that's where, and Adams had some of that. Some weeks he'd get a big score from Mahomes, but he'd have all his points on his bench, for whatever reason. And then, Junior he kind of lived and died by 40 pointers by Allen a few times, and the defense and kickers.
Now that the weather's gotten colder and Allen's gotten older, that seems like this.
But there's just very few quarterbacks that have been doing closer to 40, 35 to 40 points, or they did it as a free agent. Nobody knew they were going to do it,
Right.
So, yeah, I think I'm going with I mean, unfortunately, he's playing you, but I feel like top to bottom, Travis's team looks pretty solid for the playoffs. He doesn't have too many holes, whereas I know a lot of the rest of our teams have some holes.
Yeah, I mean, I know we were teasing a lot of people, Rennie fanboy. I think that if I just take his body of work the second half of the season, he's just had one of the most dangerous teams. He scored, just a ton of points. His one weakness has been quarterback. If Rodgers gives him consistent 20 points, I think that's enough for him, because his running backs, his wide receivers, defense, special teams, all those different things have been good enough. I think that, the only thing that I could say is that the last 2 or 3 weeks that Rennie's just exploded, and so maybe he's due for a dud. You know what I mean? And so I sent some stuff out, Dave. Did you find any of that stuff? I don't want to say interesting, but just like, last year, first round of the playoffs, 105.5 was the highest score. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of like, but the winning average is 109.6. So like that, we were talking earlier in the season, like, oh, you got to get to 100 to get a win.
Yeah.
If you want to win in the playoffs,
it helps
last
to
year
get
was
one.
Last year was an outlier, because all the other years you've got teams scoring 140s, 150. We had a 150, got 119s, 120s. So, we got losing teams imagine scoring 120.7 and losing in the first round of the playoffs. Imagine
losing by 30.
Yeah. Imagine scoring 107.9, losing in the playoffs, 114, losing by, what is that? 25?
Yeah.
So, I would just say that, like, history over the last 4 seasons would say, man, if you want to be safe, you better score over 110. Now, a lot of our projections are low, and some of our teams have been scoring lower lately, and so maybe it's more consistent with what it was last year, where if you score in the hundreds, you'll be safe. But, it wouldn't surprise me to see a few teams scoring up in the 120s, and we'll see what happens. I just thought it was interesting. You know what I mean? Average margin of victory in the playoffs in the first round of the last 4 years, 20.7. So there's been a giant divide over, now I didn't put seeds and anything into that. Those are just straight numbers. But, losers, like it's the haves and have-nots, with the winning teams averaging 109.6, the losing teams averaging 88.8. So that just seems to be a trend in the playoffs.
So when you get to, and this week we got Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. 4 days of football. So by the time we get to Sunday, a lot might have happened, and you can start looking at your team and be like, ooh, am I going to be in the 80s or am I going to be in the 110s? And you got a pretty good idea, unless somebody blows up, of what's going to happen.
Yep, exactly. So, well, everyone, good luck. If you're not in the playoffs, we apologize. Try again next year, but you can still compete for high points. And we hope we see everyone
The meet
Monday
and greet.
night.
Are we gonna have
BW3s.
merch available?
Merch?
Is the merch, is it done? Is the shirts and the hats, are they all ready?
That girl in China called and said it wasn't gonna be ready. So
That's too bad, because we were gonna sign shirts and hats for everybody for
yeah,
the podcast.
the Meet the Podcast host. Yeah.
Yeah, and we
So
had some.
we will
had
do autographs.
coasters.
We will do autographs though.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as just right above the nipple.
You said nipple.
So, hey Dave, thanks for doing this with me all season long. Can't wait to see what happens in the playoffs. Good luck in your matchup against Adam. And I don't know if I'm allowed saying this on there, but because you're my podcast host, I hope you win.
Okay. And Junior sucks.
All right, there we go. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody.